Hello everybody, this is Robert from RC Archery, and today I'm going to make a video that goes along with my hinge shooting article, and it's just really what a hinge is, how it works, and then just giving you a visual over the different methods that I go over in the article. So we'll just start out with the hinge, what it is. Basically, there is a half moon shape, solid anchored in piece inside. That's what you adjust to, make the speeds faster, slower. And then it's going to have a hook at the end of it. That hook is going to ride against that moon until it gets to the edge, comes over the edge, and that's what trips it to allow the hook to swing open. It's pretty simple, it's smooth. That's why I choose a hinge, is because there's not a trigger that clicks, that moves, may grind if it's not in good shape or a good quality trigger, anything like that. It's just a smooth, fluid motion. That's what draws me to them. I would say out of all the methods that I put on there, there's pluses and minuses to all of them. And what works best for me may not work best for you. So everybody's mind's wired a little differently. Everybody's body works a little different. So trying them all, realizing the good about them, the bad, or maybe even just, hey, I keep shooting with this method and I find I keep having left misses or right misses, or this is happening or that, and realizing that is common with certain types of methods. Let's try something else because it eliminates that. It may work better for you. So just to begin with and try to follow down the line on my articles, the first one I went through, it was just using my ring finger and my middle finger as the outside fingers to activate the release. Pretty straightforward. You get on there, you have your release set up, and you leave your index finger pretty stagnant, and you crank down with your outside fingers, and that creates a movement. And then it rotates until it trips the Seer Weather. So that works, really good. You can have some finger torque that is applied to the release. You may pull it up or down, and that can be a problem. Obviously your left-right misses, up and down misses are going to be caused with that. Another thing too is as you're pulling it, you may have a tendency, I had a tendency to pull my hand in and pull it back towards behind me, and that would create right misses and dig the string into my face some and cause facial contact, all sorts of problems. So that one, that's why it didn't work good for me. It may work great for others. The TrueBall HBX release is set up, in my opinion, to work really good with that method. Obviously that's why they developed it. Rio shoots pretty similar to that. He'll anchor in, and he says he pulls, and as he pulls it, you can see his fingers coming together on the outside. So you don't have to worry about what you're doing with your index finger, pressure situation. You may not be able to release the tension on it. You may have too much tension built up. The HBX takes a lot of that out because all you're doing is just pulling down on the outside of it until it trips. So it's kind of like almost like a thumb release in that that aspect. That more works as a trigger, in my opinion. So the next method that I went through on my article is just releasing the index finger. So just holding everything in place, all your hand, everything like that, and just relaxing the index and letting it rotate the hinge. Obviously could work, could not work for you. Goes back off to what I was saying before. You're going to have to mentally start to relax. So some people can't do that in a pressure situation. Some can, it may be good, it may not be good for you. Some errors that I had with that, some problems that I had with it is in relaxing my index finger, I would actually just start relaxing my whole hand. Fingers, hand, everything. So obviously in that situation you're not really moving, you're not doing a whole lot. It lets you creep forward. It's creating problems where you can't rotate the hinge, it's never going to go off, you just stand there and stand there and stand there and nothing happens. That also led me to pulling my hand away from my face with my anchor point because I was relaxing everything and trying to relax my hand. I would get left misses because I was just kind of plucking off the string and pushing my hand out almost. So for me, that worked that way for me. But yeah, it created some problems that way. Then you get into combining them both, relaxing the index and then pulling on the fingers, so you get a lot of rotation that way. You get a lot of movement in this method, and that may work, it may not. Some people like the extra movement when they move that hinge because maybe they're battling target panic, and or in anticipation for the shot. So you develop a lot of movement. The way you set your hinge really, really slow, and you just get on there and you just start rotate until it finally clicks and goes off, or finally trips and goes off. So with me, it just didn't work for my anchor point. It's too much movement in my hand. Instead of my your index and your middle finger, that's what you're making a U shape, making on your jaw here for an anchor. So if you're moving those a whole lot, your anchor's moving, so it moves your peep. It creates movement in your shot, and to me that showed a lot of problems. So I moved away from that. It may work great as a training tool. You might perfect it to where you can get enough movement out of it and get a good shot. It may work for you. For me, it just didn't have enough pluses to negate that minus, and I moved away from it. The next one that I went into was one that Groove teaches, and when I first started using this, I couldn't get it to work. And I've heard this story from a lot of people, and they can't get it to work for the same reasons, and it's because the way Griff explains it is a relaxation of the hand. So I think a lot of people interpret that as, oh, I'm relaxing my hand. I'm straightening it back out. I'm taking that tension back out. My fingers are part of my hand. I relax everything. It doesn't work when you do that, though. So I've heard him touch on this in some videos after that have come out recently where he says you don't relax your fingers, it's just your hand. But when that first came out, I had a lot of problems with it until I realized what he was trying to say and like the mechanics behind it and how I could make that method work. Because for me, I like that a lot. I don't move my fingers this way. My anchor stays very solid against my face, and that works really well for me. It doesn't bother my float at all. It just, to me, it works great. There again, you're having to release some tension, so in a pressure situation, you may not be able to do that as well. So I'd have a backup to it that I'm going to go with next, but I like it. So this one I'm going to spend a little bit of time on explaining how it would work to help the people that may be able to use this, but haven't seen the interpretation the right way. So what you're going to do is you're going to use the base knuckles in your hand. That's your hinge point with this method. So when you set the release up, you're going to set it up not as a fist, but you're going to set it up with some bend in those base knuckles there, so that as you go to relax your hand, you're relaxing from here back. Your fingers are going to stay tension in it, so you're going to wrap those around your release, and you're going to create those tension in all three fingers, and you're going to hold it there, and you're not going to let that go. What you're going to do is relax just those base knuckles in the back part of your hand into your arm. As you do that, you'll see your hand start to open. So, it's just hinging at the base knuckles. That's all it's doing. And of course, this is an exaggeration. You're not moving so much you see it, but that's the idea. That's the motion. And why this works is because if you notice on your hand, your outside fingers, the way that your body is designed, when you open that part of your hand, they don't open at as fast of a rate as your index. So as you do this, they stay there, your index finger opens quicker, and it actually will create the rotation you need in the hinge. So you can see it when it's exaggerated like this. You open them up and it moves. It hinges at release, so that's how it works. That's great. It works really well for me when I'm in a situation where I'm not tense and I can get in a flow and get moving. That's my go-to method. It's easiest for me to use, good repeatable results. I get very good downrange accuracy out of it. But like I said, sometimes people can't, sometimes I can't when I'm in a pressure situation, just relax those hand muscles and that arm muscle and get that movement. So that leads me to my last one that I added on to my article, and I actually added it at a later date after working with some different people, and decided it should go in there as well. And this one it's more of a mental trick. You're going to focus on your outside fingers. So if it's a 3-finger release, your ring finger, pinky on a 4, middle finger on a 2-finger release, whichever one it may be. But you're going to focus on that and letting that be your hinge point and driving pressure to it. So I set my hinges up to where I draw back, even pressure between all 3 fingers for the most part. Maybe still a little bit more on my index, but it's pretty good. It's pretty even. and then I will just focus on bleeding, pressure into my ring finger, and just, or adding pressure to my ring finger really, so that the finger bed inside that release is pushing harder against my ring finger. Now, as you do that, I think mentally you're going to relax your index finger a little bit more, but like I said, that becomes your hinge point. So you just focus on driving the finger into the finger bed a little bit harder. For me, it's not bending of the finger, it's not curling of the fingers, it's not doing anything like that. It doesn't change my anchor point, and it doesn't create torque on my release where I'm pulling it up or down because of the way the release is set in my hand. Works really good for me. That's my second go-to method. That's what I'll use when Grizz method isn't working as good for me because the tension or whatever that day is just not working. I'll go to that, and I'll just focus on driving my pinky finger into the finger bed there, and that's how I get it to release. So that's really it. If you have any more questions, definitely feel free to email me. I'll put my email down in the description below in the video. Send me a message on Archery Talk or anything like that. And hope this video helped out, and look forward to hearing from you on it.